Hello, and welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. Let's have a look at our precious metals again, and we'll start this again with the US dollar. The correlation between the US dollar and gold, this is a 20-day correlation, is back into negative territory, so it makes sense to have a look at the US dollar when you're thinking of potential price movements in gold and other precious metals. As you see on Friday and today, we see strong green candles on the US dollar, which tells me that, well, there is a pretty good chance, I would say maybe around 65% chance, that the previous daily cycle in the US dollar did finish on Thursday here on the 17th of December. There is still around maybe say 35% chance that the cycle will continue a little bit longer. By the way, on average, these cycles last for about 59 days. That's been the average over the last 2 to 3 years. And if the cycle did finish on Thursday, that would give you a 57-day cycle, which is close enough to an average duration. The RSI, though, hasn't given us a positive divergence from the prices. We see that price has made a lower low over the last couple of weeks, and RSI hasn't given us a higher low, which combined with a bit of a gap over here, just at about 19.16, tells me that, well, there is a still small chance, say somewhere around 35% chance, that dollar will continue down for maybe another few days, possibly coming down to closer to 89, a bit of a round number there, where you'd possibly see a positive divergence on RSI if gold, say, drops a little bit over the next few days and RSI gives you a slightly higher high. After all, dollar hasn't really broken above this downtrend line that has been since the early stages of that cycle in the beginning of November. So having not broken this downtrend line yet, we still can't say for sure if the dollar has turned around back on Thursday. But as I mentioned, there is a pretty good chance, around 65% in my humble opinion, that dollar is going to be strong over the next several days, which means that gold might probably struggle with its downtrend line, which it has been respecting all the way since early August. Plus, dollar has reached the upper range of the Bollinger Bands, which aren't that narrow, to be honest. Whenever the Bollinger Bands are very narrow, reaching the edge of those Bollinger Bands is not as important as reaching an edge of a relatively wider Bollinger Band. The cycle, though, is still pretty young. Usually the short-term daily cycles in gold last for about a couple of months. So this blue line over here shows my expectation for gold cycle over the next couple of months. Possibly some weakness here, as gold might be stuck between its 50-day moving average as support at around 1870 and this downtrend line as resistance. But over the next few weeks, I still would expect gold to generally trend upwards into the top of its ongoing short-term daily cycle. The cycle, as I said, is still young at only 21 days old. And the 14-day RSI is still pretty far from overbought. The RSI is only at 57.4. At the beginning of the previous intermediate cycle, the first short-term daily cycle topped here in the middle of April, when the 14-day RSI was much closer to overbought at around 67.7. Plus, that was significantly higher than the 50-day moving average. At the moment, as we said, gold is still pretty close to its 50-day moving average, which I think will prove to be support zone over the next several days as dollar probably strengthens. Looking at GDX, similar to gold, I think GDX might struggle somewhere between the 200-day moving average as a support zone and the 50-day moving average as some sort of a resistance, possibly bumping into this 50-day moving average over the next few days as dollar strengthens a little bit before breaking to the upside. You see that the 14-day RSI is still pretty far from overbought. On Thursday, it showed us a high of only 56. And looking back at the beginning of the previous intermediate cycle, we see that GDX did something similar, bumped into its 200-day moving average, pulled back for a few days before breaking higher, and topped when RSI was much closer to overbought levels. So possibly some weakness over the very short term, but personally I'm still holding on to my precious metals allocations, and we're still doing the same with members at myfinanceteacher.org. By the way, talking about myfinanceteacher.org, here's a short break. Let me point out some of the highlights we've had at myfinanceteacher.org so far in October and November. Our Bitcoin gains have been amazing at over 58%. Our investments on oil producers has done and is doing very well, with the gains on different producers ranging anywhere between 30 and 40% just over the last several weeks. And also over the last several weeks, we've been doing relatively well on coffee and some other assets as well. So if you're interested in more frequent and detailed analysis on a range of assets, check us out at myfinanceteacher.org. An interesting product that we have at myfinanceteacher.org is the portfolio where I track all of the trades that have ever happened, which provides great transparency on all of our gains as well as losses. I would guess that not many other analysts would track their performance with such transparency. Welcome back, and next I want to have a look at this 25-week return in gold. Usually, intermediate cycles in gold bottom when this 25-week return is anywhere between minus 10% to somewhere around 0%. As you see, these black circles indicate the levels of this 25-week return whenever the intermediate cycles in gold were at their low points. And as I mentioned, most of these black circles are somewhere between negative 10% and 0%. What we see at the moment is that this red line, the 25-week return, has started to go up a little bit. It actually bounced from the level of 5.5% or so a couple of weeks ago. And it's a little bit higher than usual. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, I think the intermediate cycle in gold has actually finished, and over the next several months, we should probably see stronger gold prices. So that is my forecast, but let me know what you think. Do you agree, or do you think there is another buying opportunity coming up over the next few weeks before we go back to those all-time highs again? I'm looking forward to read your opinion in the comments, and while you're there, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. For now, I wish you a nice day and good luck in your trades.